In a quiet Oregon suburb, one man came home to grieve, to rebuild, to disappear into peace. But what he found wasn't silence, it was surveillance. A self-declared HOA president, a community ruled by fear, and one man who decided enough was enough. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about truth, control, and the moment a neighborhood remembered what it meant to stand together. Daniel Reyes hadn't planned to stay long. After his grandmother passed, he returned to her home in Crestwood Lane, just to sort things out, maybe renovate, maybe sell. What he didn't expect was that the quiet Oregon suburb had grown loud in all the wrong ways. On his first morning back, Daniel opened the front door to find a woman standing on the porch with a basket of muffins and a binder the thickness of a small phone book. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Meredith Clay, community coordinator. I help maintain order around here." Daniel blinked. "Order the HOA," she said, pushing the binder into his hands. "This outlines the standards. Just a few things to keep our neighborhood looking its best." He flipped through the pages. There were rules about lawn height, curtain colors, acceptable porch furniture, and even restrictions on bird feeders. His grandmother had never mentioned any HOA. "I wasn't aware there was," he started. "Oh, it's informal," Meredith interrupted, "but still enforceable. We take pride in Crestwood. That was the first sign. The muffins were dry. The rules were not." At first, Daniel did what he always did, kept his head down, stayed quiet, and focused on the things he could control. He had spent the last decade developing AI systems for logistics firms. He believed in logic, in patterns. But there was nothing logical about Meredith Clay. She began watching. Every morning, she stood across the street with her dog and stared at his house. He caught her photographing his recycling bins. One day, she left a note about unapproved plant choices. Another time, she measured his grass. Still, Daniel tried to brush it off. It wasn't worth the fight. Until she escalated within 2 weeks. Meredith had posted passive-aggressive comments on the neighborhood Facebook group. She accused Daniel of renting out rooms illegally, reported him to animal control for a dog he didn't have. One morning, a man in a reflective vest showed up claiming to be a city inspector, investigating hazardous material storage. Daniel asked for ID. The man mumbled something and left. That night, Daniel checked his security footage. The so-called inspector had been dropped off by Meredith's car. That was the moment something in him shifted. He was no stranger to systems. But this one, Meredith's web of control, fear, and fake authority was personal. And broken systems begged to be rewritten. Daniel began documenting everything. He upgraded his home security, installed motion sensors, and used his own custom AI models to monitor behavioral patterns. He tracked Meredith's movements with chilling precision. The data revealed she had entered his yard 4 separate times between midnight and 3 a.m. He wasn't alone either. A retired schoolteacher down the block mentioned getting anonymous letters about her porch lights. A single mother whispered that Meredith had threatened a reporter for domestic instability after a loud birthday party. No one had dared to push back until now. Daniel gathered their stories, carefully, methodically. He created a secure digital archive, one by one. Neighbors began to share footage, screenshots, emails. Quiet resistance was building. Then came the tipping point, at 2:46 a.m. On a Thursday morning, Daniel's backyard cameras caught Meredith dressed in all black, climbing a ladder to peer over his 8-foot fence. She had a camera, a tape measure, and a clipboard. She was halfway up when the ladder wobbled. The base was slightly uneven, a flaw Daniel had noticed, but hadn't yet fixed. As she reached the top, the ladder gave way. Meredith screamed as she fell backwards into her own bushes. The footage captured it all, the crash, her shouting, her attempt to justify it as a neighborhood safety patrol. When Daniel walked outside, She was already trying to get up. "You can't prove anything," she hissed. He didn't respond. He called the police. Meredith was charged with trespassing. But the story didn't end there. She countersued Daniel, claiming emotional distress. She accused him of setting a trap, said the latter incident was premeditated. The local media picked up the case, and suddenly Daniel was either a vigilante or a villain depending on which outlet you listened to at the hearing. Daniel's lawyer, Brad Whitmore, a soft-spoken man with courtroom steel in his eyes, presented a carefully constructed timeline. Footage, sensor logs, Meredith's text messages and emails, some of which she had forgotten existed. One read, "I'll drive that little coder out just like I did the Millers." But the decisive blow came when the original HOA president, Marlene Ford, testified via video from Florida. "There is no HOA," she said. "I dissolved it legally before I moved." Meredith volunteered to send out Christmas cards. That's the extent of her involvement. Meredith turned pale. Under questioning, she admitted she had conducted surveillance because she believed outsiders were lowering the moral standard of the neighborhood. The judge didn't hold back. "This is a case study in delusional authority. The defendant exercised restraint and lawful measures in response to deeply inappropriate behavior." The case was dismissed. Meredith's countersuit thrown out. She was fined and issued a no-contact order. But the real fallout came afterward. For the first time, people in Crestwood Lane began speaking out. A father admitted Meredith had threatened to call CPS after his son's tricycle was left on the sidewalk. An elderly couple confessed they had paid fake HOA fines just to keep her away. The illusion of her power shattered. Her house went on the market within days. Daniel, once eyed with suspicion, became the unlikely center of the community. He refused any official role, but agreed to manage a simple, transparent community website. No more secret rules, no fake inspections. He hung the broken ladder in his garage as a quiet trophy. Not for revenge, but as a reminder. Later that fall, during a neighborhood block party, the first in years, an elderly woman from across the street approached him. She had been silent during the ordeal. "You did something we should have done long ago," she said. "You didn't just stand up to her. You reminded us that we let it happen." Daniel smiled. "All systems operate until someone rewrites them." She nodded. "Glad you stayed." So was he. Because sometimes, peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from confronting the lie that fear is leadership and proving that community is stronger than control. And Crestwood Lane remembered.